Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Mind Muscle Connection podcast. Today is a solo episode. I have a topic I want to dive into. Before I dive into that, though, I just want to go over a few ways you can help support the podcast. So first, if you've found this podcast to be helpful in any way, if you could leave a rating and review, and that will help more people find this podcast. Next, you can follow me on Instagram, Jeff, HOEHN _, and that's where I'm most active on social media. So if you have any questions or want to stay up to date with anything, give me a follow there. Also, just say hello as well, too. Love to chat with people who listen to the podcast. And then lastly, I have my one-on-one online coaching service. And with that, I help you lose body fat and build muscle with my strategic dieting and training methods. We look at things like your lifestyle and biofeedback to individualize your training and nutrition program to you and your specific needs. There's also at least 1 to 2 bottlenecks outside of the training and nutrition protocol that are keeping you from seeing the results that you want to see. And we figure out what those are. So if you're interested in learning more, you can reach out on Instagram or fill out the link in the show notes and we can chat about it in more detail. So with that out of the way, let's dive into today's topic. And so I want to frame this as 2 common thoughts that I see and hear that are hurting your ability to improve your look and overall health. And so I think these thoughts are, again, they end up getting people to think about because of these thoughts, they focus on the wrong things, right? And I'll dive into that. So let's talk about what these 2 thoughts are. So the first common thought is thinking you have more muscle than you actually do. Okay, I see this all the time. I think, I've been there, right? I was like, oh, I want to be this weight. And then when I'm that weight, I'm going to look like this certain person, right? But they just had way more muscle than I had, right? I didn't have as much muscle. And then same thing, like even on the way down, there were times when I ended up not wanting to cut because I was like, hey, I need to maintain this certain weight because I think I have all this muscle. And then it's like you actually get lean and you're just like, you're not happy with your look because you just don't have as much muscle as you think you do. Okay. And so again, that can happen on the, by maintaining a higher body weight and not ever going down because you again think you have more muscle. And it's like if you get under a certain weight, you think you are getting skinny, but it's like again, you just don't have as much muscle as you think, right? So then you don't get as lean as you could. But also at the same time, people also don't focus on adding muscle when they need to, and then they just focus on the weight loss side of things, right? So it's like, oh, I already have plenty of muscle, I'm good to go, I don't need to add anymore, right? So those are 2 ways that can hurt you there with that. So that's the first one, and I'll dive into these each a little bit more. That second one is thinking you're just going to add pounds of muscle easily by just lifting weights, right? Like a lot of people just think, oh, I don't need to focus on lifting weights or I don't really need to focus too much on that because I just lift weights and it's just going to happen, right? So again, they either don't really take the training side of it seriously or the things that they need to do to add muscle because again, they think it's just going to happen. Or again, the way they train, it's like, oh, I'm just going to lift weights and all this muscle is going to come on. And so again, the way that they train is also suboptimal, but because they're like, oh, well, I'm training, this is what's going to build muscle. But also I think it also stems from the fact that like people, when they want to drop weight, they're just like, oh, I'm just, I don't need to focus on that because I'll focus on that later. It's just gonna happen naturally. And or again, they think too that they just touch weights and they're just gonna build all this muscle, right? So there's a lot of kind of subcategories here with this, with these thought processes, but I just want to go over those first, right? So have these 2 thoughts crossed your mind? If so, I think it's important that you listen to the rest of this podcast because I think there's going to be some things in here that we can talk about. So because of these thoughts, right? Again, the 2 thoughts being you thinking you have more muscle than you actually do. 2, thinking you're just going to add muscle easily by just lifting weights, right? So again, really, it just simply comes down to you think you have way more than you do, and you think that you're going to be able to get to these amounts of muscle super quickly, or just by just lifting weights, right? And so because of these thoughts, you put all of your efforts on scale weight loss and losing body fat to improve your health / look, and don't prioritize building / maintaining muscle. Okay, so again, this just simply comes down to because of those thought processes, people really don't focus on the muscle building maintenance and the building of muscle and the maintenance of muscle side of the equation, right? And that's a big component of your body composition. It's going to be important for your overall health, and it's going to be important for, just how you look, right? And that goes back to the body composition side of things. So again, people, because of those thoughts, they end up focusing a little bit more on just the fat loss and weight loss side of things. And now in most situations, dropping weight and body fat is needed, right? So this isn't to say, hey, you don't need to focus on that. But again, if this was like, people end up focusing 75 to 80% on the weight loss and like maybe 10 to 20% on the muscle building side, when we need to get it closer to 50-50, right? They're both important. So again, the problem arises when there's too much focus on just the weight loss, fat loss, and then no focus on building or maintaining muscle because of those initial thoughts, right? So it's just like, oh, no big deal. I just need to lose body fat. That's all I need to do. I need to lose weight. Doesn't matter about muscle, anything like that. I just need to lose weight, right? I just want to be leaner. So I just need to lose weight. All right. So thought one, thinking you have more muscle than you actually do. So why is this an issue? So first, if you haven't, so my thought on this is if you haven't pushed muscle growth before, and I'm talking 18 weeks plus with methods that actually drive muscle growth, then you have less than you think. Okay. So what I mean by that is 18 weeks plus of you eating at maintenance, not being like, oh, I'm just trying to drop weight. I'm trying to eat as little as possible. Oh no, I saw my weight spike up. Now I have to drop my food down to make sure my weight comes back down. No, I'm talking 18 weeks plus of you pushing your training. And again, this muscle building training, right? I'm not just talking, hey, you go to, group class 2 times a week and you guys, you do something different every week. It's super lightweight. It's more circuit style training. No, I'm talking, you actually, you have some good muscle building principles in your training and in your nutrition, right? So we're talking, hey, you're using progressive overload. You're resting in between your sets. Again, we're not just trying to get our heart rate up and whatnot, right? So if you haven't done that for at least 18 weeks plus, you have less muscle than you think. And so 2 things happen here with this thought process, right? So the first is I don't need to focus on building muscle or maintaining it because I already have enough. I need to just lose weight. So everything you do is to see scale weight go down, right? So it's like, oh, I already have enough muscle, or again, I don't need to do it right now because I just need to lose weight. So again, people, they restrict their calories. Again, they're not focused on protein. They're just doing a bunch of cardio. Again, it's all eating as little as possible. And it's all about seeing that scale weight go down. And so when this happens, you have this increased and not in seeing it go down, but also seeing it go down quickly as well too. Which again, when you do this, it's an increased risk for muscle loss during weight loss, depending on your methods. Okay. So again, if like I said, you're trying to lose it quickly, you're just doing cardio, you're not really lifting, your protein's low, you don't really care about sleep, you're going to lose muscle in this process, right? And again, that's not great from a body composition standpoint. But also, when you lose muscle in the weight loss process, you're going to feel hungrier, you're going to feel weaker, you're going to have less energy, and you just are going to feel like you need to continue to lose more and more weight to get that toned look, right? So that's the first kind of problem with that thought process. Again, I see this all the time, like, oh, I'm going to lean out first and then I'll start lifting weights, or I'm going to wait to lift weights, right? But even somebody that they know the importance of lifting weights, so they lift weights, but it's like, they think they have all this muscle. So they're like, oh, I can just kind of take it easy. I can ramp up the fat loss side of stuff. And I don't really need to focus on like still trying to build or maintain my muscle because I have enough. And so then again, these things happen. And it's, again, you're going to lose muscle in that process. And then 2, again, thinking you have more muscle than you actually do. The second kind of problem with that thought process is you never spend time trying to add more muscle. And what this means is you're going to have a cap on your overall look. So if you only focus on losing body fat, your overall look will cap out at some point. Okay. You can, in order to really change your body and continuing to change it, you do need to add some muscle to your frame. So again, if you're just always thinking, oh, I just need to lose more body fat, I have enough muscle, at some point there's going to be this cap on your look. And you may find that you keep running into the same issue where you get to a certain weight and you just can't get past that weight. Your look never improves. Weight comes back up, rinse and repeat, right? Maybe during that period of time, you don't really focus on anything. And then it's like, oh, I gained a little bit of weight. Now I need to go back to training. I need to go back to fat loss, et cetera. So you need to spend time adding muscle if you want to continue improving your look over time. Okay. And again, this goes back to, you need to get your calories up to at least maintenance. You might need to see your body weight come up just a little bit. I'm not talking 10, 15 pounds, we just need to get our thought process away from seeing it at the lowest scale weight and seeing it continue to go down. But also we need to combine that with good muscle building principles, not just going in and like, you can just go in and lift randomly or do like group classes or stuff like that, or whatever it may be. But again, you're not going to build muscle as efficiently as you could be if you focus on, again, getting that food up. And again, when I say food up, close to your maintenance, just not seeing your weight trend down. It doesn't have to be a surplus, and good muscle building principles. And I'll kind of talk about that here in a minute. So again, just to sum that one up, that thought process of thinking you have more muscle than you actually do, it hurts you in 2 ways. 2 things can happen. Because you think that, you just feel like you don't need to, you either think you don't have to lift weights, or again, you just overly focus on the scale weight going down, right? And then 2, never spending time trying to add more muscle because you think you already have enough it's going to have a cap on your overall look. So thought 2, thinking you will add pounds of muscle easily by just lifting weights. Look, muscle is not easy to come by, okay? You need to put in consistent and directed work towards building muscle in the gym and out of the gym to add more muscle. It doesn't just happen, right? Now, maybe initially, if you didn't lift at all and you start lifting, whether again, it's just anything, it doesn't matter. You are going to build a little bit of muscle, but eventually that's going to slow down. You're going to kind of cap out there. So if you go from not lifting to lifting, you'll build some muscle. But once you kind of get to that point, it's like you have a decent amount, maybe a small amount of muscle, but it's like in order to build more, you have to be direct in order to do that. And so again, it's not easy to come by. A lot of people don't lift weights because they think it's going to make them bulky. And it's like, okay, that's not going to happen. You're not just going to touch a weight and then all of a sudden you just have all this muscle. You're going to look like a bodybuilder. Anybody that has spent time trying to build muscle knows that, again, after those initial beginner gains, it is tough to come by after that. And it's not easy. So, here, I think with this thought process, people end up half-ass their lifting workouts. Or they overly focus on like fat burning type workouts and never end up adding more muscle, right? Because again, it's like, oh, I'm just going to lift weights and it's just going to happen. But you have to be direct in the stimulus you're sending after this initial like beginner gains, right? So if you're just doing fat burning type workouts and you're just kind of half-assing your workouts, you're not focused on overloading, you're just kind of taking it easy, you're staying far away from failure. It's like, you're not going to build muscle like you want and like you think. So again, muscle, the big takeaway here is muscle is tough to come by. And again, you have to have a lot of these things lined up in order for it to happen, right? So not only in the gym, right? We need to make sure that we're training fairly close to failure most of the time. You're pushing yourself, right? You're getting stronger over time. Again, maybe not every single session, but over time you're getting stronger. You're doing more, choosing the right exercises. And then outside of the gym too, right? Making sure you're recovering, making sure that you're sleeping well, making sure that you're hitting your nutrition right, you're getting in plenty of protein. We're not under eating, but we're not also overeating, right? So again, you can see where this starts to get a little bit tougher to do, and it doesn't just accidentally happen, right? Like many people think that it does. So again, muscle is tough to come by. It's not just going to easily happen. So moral of the story, if you want to look better and be healthier, you need to prioritize muscle maintenance and gain, plain and simple. And don't forget, 1, you have less muscle than you think, okay, especially if you haven't spent that time, like I said. And 2, you aren't going to put on pounds of muscle by just touching weights, for 12 weeks. Again, that's just not going to happen. It's much tougher to build muscle than you think. And so again, my big thing here is I just wanted to make sure that, if you have these thought processes, you still need to make sure that you build and maintain muscle, even if your main goal isn't to look like a bodybuilder, right? Because muscle is going to play a big role in your body composition, how you feel. And obviously as we age, it's going to be super important too. That's, I've been thinking a lot about this lately. That's where a lot of people run into issues as they age, right? There's this concept called sarcopenia, which is basically muscle loss as you age, right? So age-related muscle loss. And then on top of it, people they either gain weight over time. So they're now, again, they're losing muscle. They have more body fat. So it's like we have less healthy tissue, more unhealthy tissue, right? You're obviously weaker. You're carrying around this extra weight. So that happens. So that's one route that happens. And again, for your overall health, that's just not great. And obviously not for looks either. But then on the other side of the spectrum, you have people that constantly yo-yo diet. And when they yo-yo diet, they lose muscle and then they gain body fat, right? So it's like maybe they're not necessarily gaining a ton of weight per se. They are focused on their health, right? They're trying to lose weight. They lose some weight, they gain it back. And again, when people do that, they usually lose muscle in the process because of their methods. And then when the weight comes back on, they usually gain body fat. So you end up seeing this person that has less muscle and more body fat. And so, obviously obesity is an issue, but obesity combined with the loss of muscle is really the big issue that people need to be aware of. So again, this goes beyond just looks, right? Because this, most of the time that's what I'm focused on here is, we just want to improve our body composition, but, from an overall health standpoint, it's super important that you build and maintain some muscle, and make sure we don't lose that as we age, which we'll lose a little bit. But again, the more you have, the better off you are. It's again, when you don't have much to begin with and you continue to lose some, then you're in trouble there. So hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully this kind of made you rethink, your thought process towards fitness, and how you want to improve your look. So if you have any questions on this topic, let me know and I will chat with you guys next time.